TBH, for me it takes a lot of effort to be an ass. People who choose to be kind every day despite not receiving the same kindness back. What motivates you? Because I could be the other person. Today you, tomorrow me. I adore this story. Sort of in the same energy, wherever people make a big deal out of help, I always say, well, I trust you do the same for me. I had someone reply with, no I wouldn't. I'm a dick, and just said, well, maybe this was meant to let you reevaluate that. I kinda wonder if they did. We didn't know each other very well. I try not to reproduce behavior I don't like in other people. Makes me like myself more. Yup, do it for yourself. When you live consistent to your values and principles, it builds your self-confidence, esteem, and just generally you walk lighter. That's more than enough reason. If the only reason you're kind to people is to get something back, you will always only ever be disappointed. Do it for yourself. I'm not especially strong or educated. I'm not particularly well off, and I know I can get carried away and come off as annoying sometimes. So if I can't be strong or smart, socially adept or successful, I can definitely be kind. When I was young, I used to admire intelligent people. As I grow older, I admire kind people. Abraham Joshua Heschel. Yeah, smart people are all over the place. They are a dime a dozen. Truly nice people are much rarer to find. TBH, for me it takes a lot of effort to be an ass. I don't expect people to be kind back. I do it because it's the right thing, not because I'm hoping for any return. People doing nice things because they expect something in return aren't actually good people. Exactly. Kindness should be shown because it's the right thing to do. There's already enough hatred in the world, why add more, right? I think a lot of it boils down to how you are raised. My dad came from an extremely loving family and my mum didn't. My dad will do anything for anyone and doesn't expect something in return, and is always pleasantly surprised when they reciprocate because that's how he was raised. My mum made the conscious decision that she would never be like her family and is right there with my dad. They are both so supportive of me and my brother, and by extension all of our friends, because they see anyone who is part of their life a family. Lost count of the amount of times growing up we had friends stay with us because they had fallen out with their own parents. I try to do the same, and raise my girls the same. I try to embody this mindset so much. Being a dwarf, I get a lot of shit from people, shouting on the street, pointing, people filming me and taking photos of me, asking me invasive questions, generally making rude statements about me or expressing weird assumptions. It gets tiring and sometimes downright upsetting, for sure, but I never want to let that feed into how I interact with people in general. As soon as I am a dick to someone preemptively, without cause, I have just ruined an opportunity to have a positive new connection in my life. People can and will often surprise you, and even people who may seem ignorant or rude at first can change dramatically if I don't just shut them down from the offset. There is a line, of course. If someone is a complete unapologetic ass, fuck them. I'm not against standing up for myself, and I have had to cut ties with people before, but in milder situations, people have the capacity to change, and it's kind of wasted potential to not encourage that, whether it is through empathy or kindness. I used to let all of this get to me. I would be so angry and miserable, every day. I hated everyone. But eventually, I realized that empathizing with people is a win for both parties. Understanding where a person is coming from, not excusing it, but understanding it, made me less angry, and in turn allowed for them to not get defensive or aggressive like they would if they were just pegged as a monster. Eventually, empathy just became easier. It made me happier, and it took less of a toll on my mindset. It just never hurts to be nice. You don't know what people go through or how long it's been since someone said something or did nice for someone, so I do my part to reset the clock on that. I remember holding the door for a guy one time when he was like 20 feet behind me, and he was so appreciative that someone did something for him that sounded like he was about to tear up. You just never know, so why not be a good person? I just think you shouldn't make anyone else's life harder than it already is. Edit. I've been on Reddit 9 years and I've never had this much of a reaction to one of my comments. Thanks, y'all. To clarify, I am not a saint. There are exceptions, and my kindness does have limits. However, I usually try very hard to be nice to people because life sucks sometimes. When another person makes you suffer, it is because he suffers deeply within himself, and his suffering is spilling over. He does not need punishment, he needs help. That's the message he is sending. Thichnardham just found this. Sometimes people ask you, when is your birthday, but you might ask yourself a more interesting question. Before that day, which is called my birthday, where was I? Ask a cloud. What is your date of birth? Before you were born, where were you? If you ask the cloud, how old are you? Can you give me your date of birth? You can listen deeply and you may hear a reply. You can imagine the cloud being born. Before being born, it was the water on the ocean surface. Or it was in the river and then it became vapor. It was also the sun because the sun makes the vapor. The wind is there too, helping the water to become a cloud. The cloud does not come from nothing, there has been only a change in form. It is not a birth of something out of nothing. Sooner or later, the cloud will change into rain or snow or ice. If you look deeply into the rain, you can see the cloud. The cloud is not lost, it is transformed into rain, and the rain is transformed into grass and the grass into cows and then to milk and then into the ice cream you eat. Today if you eat an ice cream, give yourself time to look at the ice cream and say, hello, cloud. I recognize you. Being unkind makes me feel very guilty immediately, lol. Even if they deserved it, I just feel kind of angry or upset after. Never better. You never know who's suffering from what. Anger. The world is often shitty and people are often selfish. So I'm relentlessly positive and friendly even when others abuse it. I'm not letting shitty people gaslight me into being like them. Fuck you world, be nice anyway, love that energy. Seeing other people happy is reward enough. Yes. Once, a lady smiled at me from her car when she let me cross the road and it literally made my entire week. I hope I have the same effect on people. It may only be a smile, but it can be so comforting in certain situations. Have a very nice day, D. One thing my dad taught me is everyone has a story. We don't always understand what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. In my personal perspective, when I encounter someone bitter and cruel, it reminds me that it's a cold world out there, it needs warmth. I try to be that warmth, even if I don't receive it in return. You can't control what you can't control. Live your own life and try to set an example. Having ideals means you stick to them no matter what. You have no expectation of getting anything in return. Trying to be a good person is done solely because it's the right thing to do. Not because you think people will like you better or you'll be rewarded. Even though being a good person has burned me so many times, I refuse to let it break my ideals.